Thanks a lot for staying with us. Let's quickly check out what the papers are saying this morning. We're looking at Daily Independent now, and the big story there has to do with what's called the UN deeply alarmed by deadly Plateau communities attacks. UN deeply alarmed by deadly Plateau communities attacks. Asks federal government to probe incidents thoroughly, hold culprits to account. In the meantime, there's a writer there saying government have sent letter of impending attack. Middle Belt Forum is saying there. Other stories there. CBN investigator warns Titanic Trust Bank investors of dire consequences, rejects their request to delay appearance until 2024, threatens bank in question as well as the Union Bank of Nigeria, saying they risk losing their shares to the federal government. In Kano, police nab 9-member abduction syndicate, rescue 7 minors. All right, other stories there. INEC elevates 55 deputy directors and more than 5,000 others. Shetima calls for peaceful coexistence among citizens. Again, federal government to shut section of Third Mainland Bridge for repairs. And there are other stories there on following the death of the former governor of Ondo State, that's Rotimi Akeredolu. Ondo commissioner resigns. Makinde declares 3 days mourning, flag to fly at half-mast in Ogun State. Court extends order restraining INEC from conducting election to replace Rivers Assembly lawmakers. Ibrahim.
We'll do a give and take more this morning. Nigerian Tribune is next with me. Plateau killings. Human lives seem to mean nothing anymore in Nigeria. GNI. Shetima holds town hall meeting with Plateau leaders, stakeholders, reps, minority caucus, wants end to senseless killings. That's on page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune. Agriculture, as a kicker on the headline reads, farmers generate 1.28 billion naira outcome of Kano State Agro-Pastoral Development Project, SAA intervention. NRC says railway tracks being vandalized in Mushin, Oshodi. You can read that up on page 23. Court extends interim order against INEC, PDP, over 25 defected Rivers lawmakers. Aidatiwa leads Ondo Exco members on condolence visits to Akeredolu's widow in Ibadan. Gives reasons Akeredolu cannot be forgotten. More tributes for ex-governor. You can see that on page 2. Next is 20.3 million out-of-school children. 36 states. FCT failed to access 68.7 billion naira grant in 18 years. UBEC. Only Osun, Niger, Taraba, Sokoto, Enugu, Ondo lodged 10.6 billion naira counterpart fund in 2023. Falana 6 direct distribution threatens litigation. You can see that on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. That's about it for the Nigerian Tribune. Kemi, I pass the baton to you again.
The Leadership newspaper is next. The lead story there is, of course, on the unfortunate massacre of residents of various communities in Plateau State. Well, the Middle Belt Forum is telling the federal government security agencies know Plateau killers' hideout, demands destruction of Mahanga Forest, asks governors to rise to the occasion. Meanwhile, Ohaneze, another socio-political group, is seeking the prosecution of killers. In Kano State, police bust child trafficking gang, rescue 9. And once again, still on the issues in Ondo State following the death of Rotimi Akeredolu. Well, the substantive governor now, Ayedatiwa, vows to sustain his predecessor's legacies. Rivers State still in the news. Court extends order against INEC and others. No hiding place for bandits in Bauchi State, says Governor Bala Mohammed. Ibrahim.
Yes, Nigerian News Direct is next. The screaming headline here says, race to deadline. More states signed budget, pass appropriation bills. That's on page 3. Rivers Assembly seats, stakeholders ignore Aso Rock agreement, proceed with lawsuit. That's on page 23. Cash scarcity persists despite CBN's 2.4 trillion naira currency issuance in 6 months. That's on page 11 of the Nigerian News Direct. Above the nameplate, we have arrested soldier who killed truck driver. That's the Nigerian Army. 11 PLC repositions gas investments with new CNG plants in Lagos, Ibadan. And EFCC secures conviction of 38 internet fraudsters in Oyo, Ogun. That's about it for the Nigerian News Direct.
This Nigeria is next. NRC loses 150,000 rail clips to vandalism and theft. That we reflected earlier on the program. Court extends interim order against INEC PDP over 26 defected Rivers lawmakers. Federal government to shut section of Third Mainland Bridge for repairs as from January the 9th. On intervention loan, CBN recovers 264.04 billion naira from borrowers in the first half of the year. And the Police Service Commission calls for disbandment of special police constabulary. Akeredolu still, battle for Ondo deputy governorship begins, of course, following the swearing in of the new Governor Hideout. And in Oyo State, of course, more commiserations and messages of sympathy, actions of sympathy. Oyo State Governor Makinde declares 3-day mourning in the state. And then next is Ibrahim has Guardian.
Right, Guardian is next, and then we've got the headline here saying Man of the Year, Judge Ware, and Majesty of Democracy. I think he's being seen as the Man of the Year according to the Guardian newspaper, saying that so far demonstrating to the people of Africa that democracy can be made safe through strength of character of leader, for showing that he has no selfish ends to serve other than public interest, for exemplifying that the peace of democracy must be planted upon the tested foundations of political liberty, for accepting responsibility for his personal and political party failure, etc. And then they made him the Guardian's 2023 Man of the Year. That's quite interesting. That you can read up on that and how that speaks to the Nigeria's democracy. Plateau killings, U.S., France seek arrest of perpetrators as death toll hits to 100. You can see that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Next is fresh worries as 20 electricity plants face hurdles. More resignations loom as Hideout takes charge in Ondo State. And on the bottom strip of the newspaper, court extends interim order against INEC PDP over defected Rivers lawmakers. That's just about it for the Guardian newspaper. Brief, short, and straight to the point.
And Nature News is next. Of course, as we count down to the new year, major climate change events in 2023. Of course, we've been talking about, the disasters recorded in Nigeria, climate change related amidst the political upheavals, not just in Nigeria, but of course, here and there within the continent and beyond. So Nature News is cataloging the major climate events in 2023. Of course, only a few weeks ago, the Climate Change Summit, took place in Dubai, and of course these issues were among those discussed, and the way forward to ensure that the environment is much safer in 2024 and beyond. Other stories there: federal government plans to restore 7 million degraded lands in Nigeria. Zamfara earmarks 1.3 billion naira for erosion control. Nigeria pushing for climate resilient, healthier future. OPEC forecasts 2.2 million barrels of oil per day demand growth in 2024. And, of course, Tinubu hosts CAF Women's Player of the Year, Asisat Oshoala. Of course, these and more stories are in the Nature newspaper, of course, with a focus on environment first. But, of course, you will get to see some other interesting, informative news, not just in the Nature News, but in all of these papers. So you can check them out. But, of course, from what we've seen so far, Ibrahim, the fallout of the horrendous killings of innocent residents in Plateau State in about 3 communities is, still very much in the news. And understandably, of course, the death toll is nearing 200 as of yesterday. There are still many more who are injured, suffering various degrees of injuries. We also have, another worrisome list of people who are now in IDP camps as a result of the displacement that this violence usually brings up. And there's so many reactions. The JNI faction of the Muslim group of Nigeria is speaking, saying human lives seem to mean nothing anymore in Nigeria. The Sultan of Sokoto has also spoken, asking about why we always have to, speak about these things in the aftermath, and how these acts of violence cannot be curbed way beforehand. Of course, amidst the outrage and the calls for more action by the authorities, the Vice President of the Presidency has visited, the affected communities, telling them that this is a national tragedy, which it rightly is, and ensuring and telling them, assuaging the worries, and telling residents concerned that justice will be meted out to everyone concerned. And
it's very important that when the justice is meted out, we should all see that justice is meted out, because that
seems to be done, absolutely,
like a form of closure, for the bereaved. It's so sad that this is happening again. Previous administration, we all, cried, we all shouted, we all, lamented, the issue of, kidnapping, attacking, farmer headers, crises, etc. Whatever it was the cause, there was no justification whatsoever for anyone to have been killed that way. I saw the video, very, very, gory, seeing a baby right behind, right behind a mother who was dead. The baby was dead. You can imagine that kind of harrowing experience the baby had to go through. And I tell you for a fact that baby, the more the baby grows, the more that image will flash, in his head. So we don't have to wait for, international communities like US, France, seeking arrest of perpetrators, because of the death toll that we've seen, because all of these, really paint us like who we really are. In the eyes or in the estimation of all of the foreign communities. It's really very sad, and I pray, I urge the government of the day to ensure that these perpetrators are brought to book. And the fact that the governor of the state also said that whenever these attacks happen, a lot of people move away from that village, they move away from that communities, and then these attackers, they overtake this place, they take over this place and start living, inhabiting these places. So it means that we have an idea of what has been happening. We have an idea of what has been the issue, over the years. So it's very incumbent upon the incumbent governor to ensure that it fights or join the federal government, as the President Bola Tinubu has said that they should not make it a federal government fight alone. They should all join hands in entrenching peace and tranquility in Nigeria, on the Nigerian soil. It's really appalling, and it's not something that one will think, because one death too many. We have kidnapping, we have banditry, we have everything, etc. And mankind should also be be kind towards their fellow men.
Absolutely, enough of the bloodletting, indeed.